we need to talk about one of the most dangerous pieces of advice that I hear over and over again.
One of the things you'll consistently hear about YouTube success is you got to be consistent.
Stay consistent.
Mastering the art of consistency.
Publish consistently.
Publishing consistently.
Consistent. We're struggling to maintain consistency.
Just be consistent. Creators like us have this natural tendency to compare ourselves to other creators, usually much bigger, more established creators. They're the most visible, so they're the easiest for us to use as a measuring stick. But when you see creators like Alex Hormozi posting incredible, high-quality content several times per week or even several times per day, you think, well, I guess I have to do that then. I mean, that's what being consistent is, right? Well, no, actually, it's not. And by the way, that's what I thought it meant to be consistent. But I've learned this advice to be consistent doesn't always help creators succeed. More often, it actually causes them to burn out. So let's talk about why this advice is dangerous and 4 simple ways to reframe how you think about consistency that will actually improve your content without causing you to burn out. One of the biggest mistakes we make is confusing being consistent with having a schedule. You need to realize big creators like Alex Hormozi have entire teams and lots of help to pull off their insane, high quality, high frequency publishing schedule. If you're a solo creator or you're growing and you just have a small team, you cannot pull this off. When you try to keep up with a content machine like that, you're constantly imposing unrealistic deadlines and unfair pressure on yourself, all in the hopes of achieving an unattainable outcome. The pressure and frustration just builds and builds every week until it crushes you. And that's when you end up putting out bad content, or even worse, you burn out entirely. This is because you're mixing up consistency with a publishing schedule. Your schedule is when and how often you publish. You can set any schedule that you want. I send the Creator Science newsletter every Sunday at 7 a.m. Eastern. That's my schedule. Being consistent means that I maintain that schedule. Not only do I tell my readers that I'll send a newsletter every Sunday at 7, but I actually follow through on that promise. Consistency isn't about having a high frequency schedule. It's about following through on whatever promise that you've made. In fact, there are countless creators here on YouTube that saw channel growth and better content quality when they decided to slow down their publishing schedule. If you publish on the schedule you promise, you are consistent. If you fail to publish on the schedule, you are inconsistent. You see the difference? You can start by setting a schedule that feels easy for you to maintain. That way, you quickly build trust in your own ability to stick to a schedule. And then you can invest more time into making the work great. Take it from me, trying to publish weekly is pretty intense until you get a lot of practice. I've been doing this for 6 years. There's no shame in starting with a twice monthly or even monthly schedule. You're better off starting slow and posting on a schedule you know you can maintain while creating high quality work. Then you can increase your frequency whenever your schedule feels effortless to maintain. Awesome, now you have a nice posting schedule that you know you can maintain, but that's not enough. When someone sees your work, you want them to be glad that they found it. Even better, you should strive to make things that people love. At the absolute minimum, you don't want them to regret spending time with your work. I call this passing the regret test. If someone clicks on your video or opens your email and they regret it, they probably aren't gonna give you another chance. A good litmus test here is to look at your work and ask yourself if you would enjoy it if someone else had made it. Be brutally honest with yourself. If you make a video that you wouldn't watch or a reel that you wouldn't share, then you should put some more time into it. Is every single video you make going to be a life-changing viewing experience or a 1 out of 10 in YouTube Studio? Give me that sweet, sweet dopamine hit. No, of course not. But you want to build a reputation as someone who consistently passes the regret test and delivers value, regardless of the schedule you're publishing on. Having a consistent schedule, no matter the frequency, and consistently delivering value with each piece of content are 2 major components to a great viewer experience, which we'll talk about more in a second. But first, we need to talk about consistent improvement. Think about the first time you rode a bike. You fell down, right? We're bad at just about everything we've never done before. And when we're kids, we don't really care as long as it's fun. But as adults, we seem to forget that being bad at something is an essential part of the process to becoming good. The reality is your work as a creator won't be very good in the beginning either. Not only is that okay, it is expected. So the way to consistently deliver value over the long term is to consistently improve at your craft, to get better. Some of that happens naturally through practice, and some of that is earned through study and trying new things. You should set a goal for each piece of content you put out to be 1% better than the last. Your audience will notice those incremental gains. I get comments on the improvements I've made to the podcast and newsletter all the time. So now we know what be consistent actually means. It means sticking to your schedule. It means delivering value every time, and it means getting better. Those things, when done well, also add up to a consistent viewing experience for the audience. What do I mean by that? Well, as people get to know you and your work, they create an expectation of you in their minds. They start to learn what you're about, your values, your vibe, what kind of content you create, and even when they should expect to get that content from you. This is what it means to have a brand as a creator. It's not your logo or your colors, it's what people expect their experience to be like when they interact with you and your work. You build a strong brand by being consistent in how you show up. If people enjoy your work because of your warmth and positivity, they might be thrown off by a video where you show up shy or jaded. Now, don't get me wrong, sometimes that can be effective. You can really capture someone's attention when you break their expectations. But if you're never consistent with their expectations, then you'll seem inconsistent, and people will have a hard time building a connection with you. This idea also carries over to the topics and themes in your work. If you build a reputation in the gardening space, and then suddenly start talking about American history, that inconsistency will start to confuse people. They won't know what to expect next, and so they might stop paying attention entirely, which, as a content creator, is kind of our worst nightmare, right? But if you're consistently talking about similar topics and showing up with a similar vibe, you create an accurate expectation in people's minds. As you meet or exceed those expectations, they begin to like and trust you more, and that means they'll consume more of your content. So be intentional with the topics you want to focus on. It can be more than one, but they should be related. Everything I make is for the purpose of helping you become a smarter creator. That creates a filter for all of my ideas. If I have an idea that doesn't help you become a smarter creator, I don't make it. So again, I want to reframe what it actually means to be consistent. It's certainly not this pressure to copy what super successful, established creators are doing, and it's not trying to be everywhere all at once. Consistency doesn't have to be this big, scary, exhausting thing if you shift how you think about it. Stick to a schedule that works for you. Deliver value with each piece of content. Constantly make small, incremental improvements, and meet viewer expectations every time. Doing these things is what makes you consistent and will make you a better content creator. It doesn't have to be so exhausting.